watching the Citizens Report. My name is William Donahue. For today's show, I'm going to get into news about the election cycle, potential slavery news, news about the Isreal conflict, and news about the illegal immigrants and the effect that they're having on the country, and especially New York City. I kind of highlight some things about that. There's a lot going on there as far as that's concerned. Before I get into that though, please like and share this video and subscribe to my channel to help get this information out there, because this information is crucial, especially going into the election cycle, that people understand what's going on and can vote with those things in mind. That being said, the first section I have is elections. So the first article says, U.S. votes in election where far right could become president. Opinion polls suggest neither the Democrat Party nor the Libertarian opposition is likely to win outright. This could leave the far-right MAGA Party as president, although mainstream rivals have vowed to take Trump off the ballot. That's not actually what this article says. This article is about Portugal. It's from Reuters. All I did was switch out the word Democrat with socialist, libertarian with center-right, and Changa Party with Trump. So Jamie Raskin, like I covered last week, vowed to take Trump off the ballot. The same thing is happening here, and it's the left-wing UN Agenda 2030, climate change, defund the police, open borders types of candidates that are using lawfare to attack far-right, supposedly populist leaders that are backed by the people and the will of the people, but don't follow the global agenda. So we're seeing a lot of this. I switched that out just to show you that the same thing is happening in other countries that's happening here. Again, I wanted to write, Congress fights anti-Ukraine propaganda ahead of parliamentary elections. This is the EU, well, you get what I'm trying to say. This is the EU, not the US Congress. They're saying that pro-Russian accounts have been spreading social media posts that depict Ukrainian refugees as violent criminals, or claim that Kiev officials misuse aid funds. So instead of taking these people's complaints legitimately and looking into them, I'd rather just call it pro-Russian accounts and try and discredit them right off the bat. So obviously if there's videos of Ukrainian refugees acting in criminal ways, then it must be true. Putting it out there isn't pro-Russian, it's just pro-truth. So that's being discussed in the EU Congress or the EU Parliament to try and figure out how to keep these people off the ballots, or how to counter the information that they're spreading. Like in England, any misinformation or harmful social media posts are punishable with fines and jail time. This next article I wrote, this could be the future of the US. Now follow, or just go with me here. This is about Pakistan, but I made it into a US scenario. So U.S. lawmakers elect Biden to second term as president. Biden secures 411 votes from the national and provincial lawmakers. His opponent, Vivek Ramaswamy, who is backed by the party of imprisoned former President Donald Trump, received 181 votes. That sounds like dystopian or Orwellian or whatever, and it is. If you look at it like it's America, this election interference would not be acceptable here, nor is it acceptable in Pakistan, but almost seems like this is a potential future outcome for the United States. So I wanted to make that evident. Again, it's the left-leaning side that's trying to thwart the populist, pro-freedom, right-wing movement. Same thing in India. India's top election official has quit days before the election, leaving the entire election in the hands of one person. This almost sounds like something Donald Trump would post on Twitter. So, this is in the article. Election Commission or election omission? India now has only one election commissioner, even as general elections are to be announced in a few days. Why? As I've said earlier, if we do not stop this systemic dissemination of our independent institutions, our democracy shall be usurped by dictatorship. That is Congress President, I can't pronounce it, from the Indian Congress. So that's the type of election interference that is going on. It's slightly evident when you look at it in that context. Now, this is proposed amendments to the international health regulations. This is the 10 issues that are wrong with this proposal. So, when I read these, I want you to think about the lawfare that's being used and the information warfare that they're playing with these spun headlines and all this anti-Ukraine or whatever propaganda, anti-Russia propaganda that they're spreading from a global standpoint. So this is also amendments that are passed by the same global people who are on the left-leaning side. So the amendments would allow for 3 levels of fear-mongering when it comes to trying to get health regulations or mandates, restrictions passed. You can do 3 levels of fear-mongering. You can add additional quarantine threats, require health documents for travel, vaccine authorized by WHO instead of your government, non-state actors comply with public health measures, coercing non-state actors, surveillance, proliferation of pathogens, that's gain-of-function research, that's contact tracers, national IHR authority requiring allocation, human and financial resources, and adjust our national laws by creating national, international health regulations authority, globalizing the healthcare system, disclosure of personal data, and censorship. So, censorship, attempting to limit free speech and freedom of expression under the guise of countering mis- and disinformation. So they use the same tactics that they use when it comes to swaying elections in the health system. This is the same group of people running this, and these next 3 articles are a couple of examples of it, coming from people who believe in these global institutions as well. Woman arrested after she showered Kamala Harris's motorcade with red liquid in Phoenix. So Kamala Harris was on her way to a pro-abortion rally. Some woman must have believed that she had blood on her hands for promoting the killing of babies. So she dumped red liquid on her motorcade in protest. Now she's being arrested. She's charged with aggravated assault on a police officer, endangerment, and resisting arrest. So none of the charges having to do with vandalizing federal motorcade or federal vehicles or whatever. Her charges are for things that happen during the actual arrest process. So that doesn't even seem like it has any grounds for charges, because if you don't have suspicion of guilt, then there's no reason to have charges. New York firefighters who booed Attorney General Letitia James to be punished and re-educated. So the leader of this fire department said that she's going to hunt down, that's her words, hunt down whoever booed at the ceremony. They booed because Letitia James came out basically in a political stunt, and it backfired by them booing, and now they're getting retribution for not agreeing with the state. Exclusive. This is an exclusive article. Liz Cheney, January 6th committee suppressed exonerating evidence of Trump's push for National Guard. So, originally Trump asked for National Guard to be there to protect the Capitol, 10,000 National Guard members, which Kathy Hochul can have National Guard members whenever she wants. Trump, the president, asked for 10,000 to guard the Capitol on January 6th. They said that he couldn't have them. Then they tried to accuse him of leading an attack on the Capitol, despite this call for National Guard. Then, when he said that he asked for National Guard, they covered it up. So clearly, this is an attempt to frame Donald Trump and make him look like an insurrectionist. I think that this proves he's not guilty, and it also proves that the left has it out for him because they don't like his policies. It doesn't align with those global agencies, or whatever you want to call them. These are groups that have not been elected. The UN, nobody in America had any say that they're going to make our decisions for us or not. The World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, none of these, whatever you want to call them, agencies, organizations, have any legal grounds to tell American citizens what to do, or to make rules or laws for us, or any of that. So, this next section, it's one article. I titled it Slavery. Me and my wife, about 2 weeks ago, saw a video on X of a man with a bunch of burlap bags around his feet, and he was shouting and pointing to the bags, speaking in a different language. He was selling products. Obviously, those products turned out to be small children between the ages of 11 and 8, from the looks of it. Young kids. This article, I think, is directly related to that. Nigerian abduction. 15 more students kidnapped as army search continues. This was also going on with a lot of the Uyghurs in China. If you remember, LeBron James, that whole thing. This has been going on longer than that with, if you remember, in the 80s, Michael Jordan's shoes were protested against because they were made by slave labor. This is happening with Apple iPhones. Tim Cook makes iPhones using slave labor. So 15 students going missing is a small peek into a window where a whole nother world exists. People don't realize, they think slavery is something that is from 1845 and that reparations are deserved for it. Little do they know, the clothes they wear are made by slave labor, the phones they use are made by slave labor. This happens on a daily basis, and if we're going to do anything on a global level, like the UN or any of that, they should quit instigating war with Russia and start looking into these Nigerian children that are missing. I think that'd be a lot better of a goal to set as a global leader. America wants to be the police force of the world. This is a huge area of concern, especially against third world nations, where our country could go in and straighten things out with what I believe not much issue against warlords and low-funded people, but I feel like we're just ignoring this. So the next section I have is Israel. Israel's war on Gaza live. At least 15 women and children killed in attacks. So this attack that they're talking about happened at a refugee camp. Once again, the Geneva Convention says that you can't attack refugee camps, you can't attack churches, you can't attack a building with a red cross painted on the top, you can't attack schools, but it's happening with U.S. weapons, funded by the U.S., carried out by Israel on civilians, and they use the cover that Hamas terrorists hide among civilians. That may be true, but carrying out sloppy attacks like this is not acceptable and needs to be dealt with. So Biden is giving them the weapons they need to carry out these attacks. At the same time, Biden makes contradictory remark on red lines for Israel in Gaza. United States President Joe Biden has warned that there are red lines Israel should not cross in its war in Gaza, while insisting he would never abandon the U.S. ally. So, on one hand, we're funding Israel and their weapons and their war. At the same time, we are giving contradictory statements, so we look foolish on the global world stage. And then the third hand, the U.S. to set up temporary port on Gaza coast for aid delivery. So we're going to go over there and play virtue signaler with building this pier, or this port. They were calling it a pier, they're calling it a port. They deployed the ship, I believe, yesterday with the people who are going to go build this port. So they're trying to allow humanitarian aid into an area that they're paying to be bombed. Doesn't make sense. The next section I have is illegals, which you see the chaos going on in the world. We have people from all over this chaotic planet flooding into our country as we speak. And that chaos is equal to this. Soldiers and civilians dying as Mexican cartels embrace a terrifying new weapon, landmines. Warring cartel gangs are actually probably so pumped up with money and funds and resources from the pipeline of illegals that's going through America that they now have the resources to build landmines, to have weapons, probably weapons like we saw with the Fast and Furious, probably weapons from the CIA, but that's a whole nother topic. This is very scary, and I think proves how advanced these cartels are getting. And these cartels are taking money from migrants, as the UN calls them, taking money from them and transporting them, having them smuggle drugs. They're coming with kids that then go missing once they go into the United States, so they're probably getting paid from that. And I think that this just shows that they have the resources and they're ready to attempt to seize power. And that is very dangerous. This next article, Mayorkas calls policy to let 30,000 migrants fly in each month, a key element of border plan after legal win. So he, for the past year, has been saying the border's closed, there's no problem, there's no crisis, we have operational control or whatever. This program was announced for Venezuelans in 2022 and then expanded to allow Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Cubans that have never been deported to fly into the country and have 2 years authorization to live here and to receive work permits. 30,000 a month. This was happening right under all of our noses as he smiled and grinned and lied through his teeth, saying that the border was closed, and now he wants to brag about it and say it was a key element of his border plan. So, Mayorkas is a snake. Biden mentions Laken Riley in State of Union, calls man accused of killing her an illegal. That was a little slip of the tongue. Biden said her name wrong. He called her Lincoln Riley only after being forced to say something because of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And now they want to come after Marjorie Taylor Greene for wearing a MAGA hat in the congressional thing, probably because she opened her mouth. He said her name wrong. Then he goes on to walk back his statement that that was an illegal, which he justified her killing by saying, but thousands of people are killed by illegals. Well, great, you're the president. Don't justify her by making her a statistic. That's what Stalin did. Joseph Stalin reminds me a lot of Joseph Biden when he says, this is a paraphrase of a Stalin quote. He said, one man is a tragedy, one death is a tragedy, 10,000 deaths is a statistic. So he tried to dehumanize her by making her a statistic. Well, she's just one of 1,000. And then he tried to walk back that he blew his cover. That's how he must talk behind closed doors, calling them illegals. He tried to walk it back as he was getting onto an airplane. Someone asked him if he regretted using the word illegal. He said, well, they're technically not supposed to be here. Then later on his scripted MSNBC interview, he says, I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. Undocumented is illegal. Not having the documents to be in this country makes you an illegal alien. So these illegal aliens are coming here. They are given fake names. They're getting shipped wherever. No one knows where they go. A lot of them don't even get run through the port of entries and the proper procedure to be later tracked down. And now, this is from the New York Post, I believe. Gangbangers openly sell fake IDs, green cards to migrants on New York City streets as officials warn of danger. I don't know if you could see this. This was a undercover investigator. This guy here is showing him pictures on his cell phone, which are on this side. A picture of a fake green card and a fake social security card that he was trying to sell to this investigator, or this reporter. It says, this week the Post spotted at least 10 men camped out in broad daylight at 4 different corners along Roosevelt Avenue in Queens, hawking the bogus documents for $80 to $250. So there's now people selling fake documents, so we're going to have no idea who's in our country pretty soon. And like we saw last week with the Iranian assassin who vowed to kill Trump-era officials, we are now going to have people with fake identities in this country. and they are allowed to get free hotels, phones, credit card or debit cards with loaded money onto it, cash, uh, cash injections, welfare, healthcare, all sorts of things. And meanwhile, Kathy Hochul rolls back the big guns in National Guard New York City subway bag searches. So she is now trying to correct the image a little bit. I guess it looked too authoritarian to have people walking around the subway with fully automatic assault rifles checking people's bags. Now they're still allowed to have the fully automatic weapons, but they can't hold them while they're checking someone's bag. So this is, to me, a beta test. If you're expecting a large event to come out, you might want to test the public's resistance and see what you can get away with. I don't think there was any specific reason. There wasn't a bomb threat or any specific thing. Just like the weather related emergency, the weather related states of emergency that were passed. I was thinking, like, there was blizzards, but there's always been blizzards. This is Buffalo, New York. What changed? So nothing changed. New York City subways have always been a somewhat scary place. They've gotten worse because of the policies carried out by Hochul. And then you got your problem, so you make bad policies to make a problem, and then you create a solution, or you have a reaction. People want their subways to be safe, and then you offer the solution. The solution would have been to not defund police in 2020 and to not take in countless migrants. But now Hochul is walking back her authoritarian bag check rules just a little bit. Tightened it up and then loosened it a little bit so that we think that we have our freedoms back, when in reality they should have a search warrant to look through your bag. There's no reason for this. There's no reason that they have the right to search anybody's bag. These two articles are unrelated to anything here. This one's kind of like a Ukraine article. Sweden officially joins NATO, becoming alliance's 32nd member. So this puts pressure on Russia in a time when they're already agitated with the actions of NATO. Ukraine has probably received more money than any NATO country has ever benefited from, and they're not even a member. Sweden has now joined. That's the 32nd, and then before that was Finland, I believe, the 31st member. Creeping up on Russia's doorstep, the exact reason why Russia invaded Ukraine to begin with. Also, I'd like to bring it back to my main point, that all of this is being carried out by the same groups who sway elections, who make it, or who bow to international organizations, who cause large wars and get us entangled in European affairs, like we were warned about by the founding fathers. And this last article, U.S. military flies Marines into Haiti embassy, evacuating some staff in overnight airlift. And I just wrote on the top of this, we have to get in everybody's business. We can't leave anything alone. I understand that the embassies are supposed to be a safe space and all that, but once again, so we're getting involved in Taiwan, we're getting involved in Israel, we're getting involved in Ukraine, we're getting involved in this Mexico border thing. We're involved in Haiti. We're still at war with Korea. Uh, we've been involved in everything, and yet the U.S. has completely changed its moral standing since the agreements to have us stick our neck in everything were created. We were a moral authority for the world, and now we are a joke. We are not everyone in America, but as far as other countries view us, America has lost its moral authority, and yet we're still walking around like the police force of the world. But we're trying to, as a country, our government is trying to push a progressive agenda on the world now. We've switched from spreading democracy, and now we're spreading socialism and communism and I want to say things that to me resemble Satanism. Death. Death. We bring death. We want people to have abortions. We want to cause massive wars. We want to create economic policies that impoverish the population. We want to regulate farming so much that you can't even grow food without losing money. We want to end independent businesses. This is progressive policy that is the core of what our goals are for interfering with all these other countries now. So that's all I have for you. This information is imperative leading up to the election, that people understand what's going on, because the global minded, the young global leaders of the World Economic Forum, the members of all these bureaucracies and government bodies need to be vetted. We have we have millions of people in this country, hundreds of millions of voters who collectively can come up with the way to run this government. We don't need one person like Jamie Raskin to make a decision that 160 million people have thought about, and as we were established, we're a republic, that people can vote and make a decision, and the will of the people rules. So everything that is being pushed by these groups is against the will of the people, and it's time for America and every country in the world to stand up and throw these people off of our backs and say that we want freedom and we want liberty and we want justice and we want to have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That means being allowed to own things to protect yourself in a time when power is being taken away from us. So that is ultimately, if we consent by not doing anything, that is ultimately going to be one of our major downfalls. We have to resist any tyrannical measures that they want to pass, and that means don't hand over your bag at the subway just because there's a guy in a uniform and you think that he has more authority over you. Nobody has the right to just invade your privacy like that. So that's all I have for you today. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Please pray for this country. Please vote in the primaries. If you are in a state that is still hasn't voted yet, please like and share this video. This information is very important, and I hope everybody has a good night. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching The Citizens Report with William Donahue. On this show, we search for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the world around us through the lens of an American citizen.